Oh, shit. Are we still doing these things? Uh, oh, I thought we were done with this crap. Nobody cares what I have to say. You already know what happened. But I guess we're going. Let's do this. Game face. All right, everyone. Welcome to the Tonto's Demise. Week 1, 2021. Tonto year 19. Yeah. What happened in the first week of the season? Oh, let's see. Fix some shit here. First off, another great draft this year. We had pretty much everybody except for Jim, who for some reason put his kids ahead of the league. I don't know why. Something I guess I will never understand. Maybe someday. Probably not the way it's going, but anyway. Yeah, everyone was there. We had a good time. You guys had fun, I think. Lots of good stuff going on the night before the draft. Playing some poker. You guys apparently gave Justin all your money, and he used it to buy his way into the league and bought you guys breakfast and whatever happened there. So, yeah, I think a good time was had by all. Always good to just get everybody together, even that once a year. Probably sometimes these are the only times you actually get to see. We all get to see each other. Most of you guys, this is the one time a year, and just always a good time, good group, and again, good times. All right, what should we talk about? I don't really have much that I am interested in saying after week 1, but anyway, we have to dive into it, I guess. And as always, we discuss the defending champion first, which is the Springfield Isotopes. And they started off their title defense this week going up against Disco and getting completely annihilated by 80 points. Final score here, Disco 215.75, the highest score in week 1. To the Springfield Isotopes 135.1, the lowest score in week 1. So we will be exiting the knockout pool here nice and quick. For Disco, Baker Mayfield goes for 39. Tyreek goes for, I think he had a long touchdown, so he goes for 43. Godwin, 23.5. Jerry Jeudy, 13.2 before going down with a high ankle sprain, I believe. Got off kind of lucky with him. That seeing the way that the guy fell on his leg, that could have been a broken ankle or something down there in his leg. High ankle sprain, probably the best possible result here. Instead of losing him for maybe the season. But you got some other wide receivers there that you will be able to plug in and keep moving forward. Jonathan Taylor and Raheem Mostert, your two running backs. Taylor goes for 17.5, while Mostert gets 2 points. He rushes for, I think, 20 yards on, I believe, 2 carries. Hurts his knee. Was on, I think, IR for 8 weeks, they initially said. And now apparently he has announced he is undergoing season-ending knee surgery. So he is now done for the year. That guy just can't not get hurt. I mean, when he's in, he can be a monster, amazing player. I've seen him. You know how fast he can run. He can take the first carry of the game, 80 yards for a touchdown, get you 17 points, and call it a day. And you'd probably be happy with that. But yeah, when he gets the chances, he is great. But the guy, his body is trying to tell him, you're not made for football. And I feel bad for him. I know apparently his wife endured a lot of cyberbullying after his injury. and things like that for no apparent reason. Kind of brings down your faith in humanity a little bit, but she actually took it fairly well, and instead of letting it bring her down, kind of embraced the positive things and the good positive sentiments, the nice things that other people had to say there. So it's unfortunate to see stupid shit like that happen, but it is what it is. I believe that's what Gag's shirt says. Anyway, perhaps we will see Mostert again next year, and everyone will be afraid to draft him. All right, Darren Waller goes for 26.5. In your flex, you picked up and played Sammy Watkins. He gets you 13.5. Prater goes for about 7.5, and the Carolina Panthers defense. Oh, let's see. Yahoo says 15, but we bumped you up about 15, so they must have been right around 30 for you there. So enough to get over 200 and enough to get an easy victory this week. Looking for the Isotopes. They had Matt Ryan go for only 30 points. Calvin Ridley going down with him, only 10 points there. Deontay Johnson, 14.5. T. Higgins, just under 16. Running backs, Edmonds and Sanders, 14.5, 17.5. Gesicki, tight end, goes for a big 0. Devontae Adams, victim of the Packers, completely doing nothing on was it Sunday afternoon? Yes, it wasn't Sunday night, it was Sunday afternoon there. 10.5 points for him in the flex. We will get to someone else who suffered from the poor performance of the Packers later on. Kicker Blankenship, he only goes for about 3.5, and then Miami defense gets, Yahoo says 13. I believe they actually got about 19 there. So yeah, only 135 for the Isotopes. Again, lowest score in week 1. They are out of the knockout pool. Disco, he is currently in first place after week 1. He is 1-0, while the Isotopes are in 12th place at 0-1. Next up, we had CMC Music Factory going up against Ed Lager. This one was kind of close. Ed had Lamar Jackson and Marquise Brown trying to make a miracle comeback there on Monday night. I think, did Justin have somebody there? He had Brian Edwards from the receiver from the Raiders there. Got him a couple of points there and was able to keep this one. Let's see, if Edwards take away that, you still win. Yeah, this one actually could have gone the other way if a few more things had fallen Ed Lager's way, but they did not. CMC Music Factory 156.25 to Ed Lager's 141.45. CMC gets Kyler Murray 56.5. His 3 receivers, Mike Evans, Julio Jones, and Brian Edwards. Again, Edwards, he goes for 12, but both Evans and Julio go for about 5.5, only 5.5 each. Running backs, McCaffrey and Williams from the Broncos, 27.5 for McCaffrey, 5 for Williams. Another victim of the Green Bay game here, Tunyon, only goes for 2.8. James Conner in the flex, 5.3. Matt Gay, your kicker from the Rams, gets you about 12. And then the Rams defense, looks like we bumped you up about 9. So I'm going to say Yahoo says 15. I want to say the actual score there was about 24, 25, something like that. It was enough to hold on and get past Ed Lager this week. So he came down to Monday night with his Lamar Jackson, Marquise Brown connection. Trying it again this year. Didn't work last year. Not working so far this year, but we'll see what happens. Lamar goes for 39.5 points. Your receivers, Keenan, Cooks, Callaway. 19 for Keenan, 18 for Cooks, and then Callaway, only 1 catch for 14 yards. He teased us all, I guess, in the preseason with that one big game, and drafted him probably earlier than he should have been drafted. But you never know. This game was not a challenge at all for New Orleans, so perhaps there will be better days. I mean, it can't get much worse than one catch for Callaway there for you. Running backs, Gibson and Saquon. 12 for Gibson. Saquon, only 3.5. Tight end, Fant, 12.2. Said Hollywood in the flex, 19.5 points. Kicker, Bass from Buffalo, goes for about 11. And then this matchup was defense versus defense. Rams versus Bears. And this one easily went in favor of the Rams. Yahoo says 1. I believe the actual score was 4, I want to say, for your Bears defense. And a difference said in a matchup where 15 points decided it. Said under 40 from your quarterback, that hurts. Callaway only getting 2. Saquon obviously only 3.5. Kind of a risky play here at the beginning of the season. Looking at your bench, you've got DeAndre Swift, who I thought was initially not supposed to play in week 1, but I guess he ended up being healthy enough to play, and he ended up putting up almost 25 points. If you had plugged him in there, maybe in the flex, or so I don't. I mean, Saquon is so risky right now until he actually shows something coming back from his injury. It's hard to feel comfortable starting him if I were you, which obviously I am not. But going forward, I would be surprised if you don't move perhaps Marquise Brown to wide receiver and not Singletary. Sorry, I'm looking at your roster here, and move Swift into the flex, or perhaps running a running back spot, move Saquon to the flex, so you can perhaps swap him out at some point if need be. Also, you also got what's his name? Tyson Williams, the main running back for Baltimore. Kind of surprised that you didn't plug him in there. But also at the same time, I can understand you don't want to be too overly reliant on the Ravens offense. I mean, you've got all the main guys, basically, Jackson, Brown, and Williams for this season, but they are not a high-scoring offense for the most part. So relying on them is definitely... Relying too much on the Ravens is not the most ideal route to take. They aren't exactly like the Chiefs or something like that, where you could stack a bunch of them and expect a boatload of points. They just don't operate that way. But the way this first game went, perhaps they're going to be... I mean, their defense got basically shredded by the Raiders. So perhaps, I know they lost Marcus Peters for the season, so perhaps Baltimore's defense is not going to be quite as intimidating a factor as they usually are, which could mean higher scoring games for the Ravens there for you. So it's only 1 week. No reason to get too upset about it. Always plenty of time to turn things around, especially considering we have an extra week this year. So CMC gets the win. He is 1-0. He is the lowest scoring winning team, puts him in 6th place, while Ed Lager at 0-1, right above the Isotopes in 11th place. Next up, we have Gags to Riches versus the Dub C Hooligans. This one was in favor of Dub C going into Monday night. Take a look at my notes real quick here. Looks like Dub C had about a 9-point lead, 9 or so, and he had Josh Jacobs left to go. Of course, they teased you a little bit there, Dub C, saying Josh Jacobs was sick and might not play, but he ended up getting in there. Not much production-wise, but he scored 2 touchdowns, and that was enough to put this one over the top for Gags to Riches. 184.85 to 176.5. So for Mahomes, he had a long touchdown. His score is 69.5. His Gags wide receivers, A.J. Brown, Robbie Anderson, and Jalen Rieger. Touchdowns for all 3 of those guys. 15 for Brown, 12.5 for Anderson. His only catch of the game was a 57-yard touchdown. Rieger, 17 points. Josh Jacobs, also 17. Ronald Jones, your other running back, actually scored you minus 0.6 because he had less rushing yards than he lost for his lost fumble there. So he actually got you negative points. Kelsey, 2 of Mahomes' 3 touchdowns this week. He gets you 25.5. Gallup in the flex, 7.5. But now he is on IR for a few weeks with, I believe, a calf strain. So you'll be putting him away for a little while. Looks like you still got some other options to plug in there in your flex spot. Butker, speaking of, again, stacking the Chiefs team, Gags, 3 of his 10 starters are Chiefs this year. Perhaps there'll be more if he trades his way into some kind of funny business, but I don't think... I'm pretty confident that there is no way you will wrestle Tyreek Hill away from Disco this year unless your offer is so good that he cannot pass it up. But what could you possibly give that would make him feel that way? I don't know that there is much of anything you could do. Anyway, Butker goes for about 10, and your Buffalo defense loses to the Steelers. They get you about, Yahoo says 5. We bumped you up a little bit there, so I'm going to guess it was about 11 or so. Enough to get you past Dub C Hooligans, putting up still a respectable 176.5. Not quite enough to get it done, though. Tannehill, his quarterback, only 36.3. Let's see. His receivers, Metcalf, Robinson, and Amari Cooper. Metcalf goes for 16, Robinson 10, and Amari goes for actually 39 points. Popping off there on Thursday night in that shootout with Tampa Bay. Got you off to a good start. Probably felt pretty optimistic going into Sunday, only to have your heart broken on a Monday night. So that's probably the worst thing too, though, right? When you have a huge game from somebody on Thursday night, and you're all optimistic and happy and positive, and you've got 4 days to sit there and kind of wait for the result, waiting for the results, and it takes 4 days to come on, and only to end up losing in the end. The agony, but such it is, the ups and downs of our fantasy football season and life. Your running backs, Robinson and Montgomery, only 8.5 for Robinson. The Jaguars, I think everybody thought Houston was going to be a mess this year. Might actually be the Jaguars that are going to be a mess this year. Montgomery goes for almost 22. Godert, your tight end, 14. Gaskin in the flex, 12.5. Koo kicks 2 short field goals early in the game and then nothing else. Gets you about 4.5. And then the Washington football team defense, they actually lost to the Chargers there. I think your defense score was correct of 14. So you could have used a couple field goals or some points there from your kicker. A little bit more from Robinson, or what was your other single-digit score there? But either Robinson. They both kind of let you down. Tannehill kind of let you down, especially in a game where they were behind most of the pretty much out of the gate in that one. So surprising that Tannehill did not do much better, considering it was garbage time for 75% of that game. So yeah, this one, Easily could have gone the other way if some things had fallen in place for the Dub C Hooligans, but they did not. And Gags to Riches, he starts 1-0. He is in third place. Dub C Hooligans 0-1. They are in seventh place. All right, then the matchup of the podcasters, Yinzer Jags versus Hillbillies on PCP. And keep repeating myself on different things here this week so far. Things that could have gone the other way for people. Apparently Brian, the teacher amongst us, has not learned his lesson and trusting the Pittsburgh Steelers defense. He did it last year, and it knocked him out of the playoffs against also Detling, I do believe. And here we are again in week 1 of 2021, and we've got these two butting heads once more, and Hillbillies on PCP decides to start the Green Bay Packers defense and bench the Steelers. And here we are talking about how the Yinzer Jags have gotten a victory they perhaps did not deserve over Hillbillies on PCP. 181.7 to 170.15. Yinzer Jags has Josh Allen go for 50. Hopkins, Woods, and Moore, your receivers. Let's see. Hopkins goes for 2 touchdowns, 26 points. Woods, only a couple catches, but one was a touchdown, 12.5. DJ Moore, 15.5. Austin Eckler, 11.5. Jamal Williams, one of your highest scorers of the entire team this week. He has 8 catches, a touchdown in garbage time comeback mode attempt there. And they actually almost did it for the Detroit Lions there. He gets you 25 points. So, drafting those early running backs, be damned. Point proven, perhaps? I don't know. That you don't need those early guys. I don't think Jamal Williams is going to get you 25 points every single week. If he does, tip of the cap to Detling, who is right there. And if that happens every week, we will have to keep him, I guess, in the background there. As a tip of the cap, not to him, but to Jamal Williams. George Kittle. Everybody crazy about him at the draft for some reason. He's the second coming. He gets you 12 points. In the flex, Courtland Sutton, only 2.5 points, despite Judy going down. Only 1 catch there for him. Kicker, Sanders, he gets you about 6.5, 7. And then you played the Broncos D over your Tampa Bay defense, which turned out to be the right call. Let's see. Looks like Yahoo says 11. I don't think we bumped you up for any long touchdowns there, so their actual score must have been about 20 for the Broncos defense. Enough to get you past Hillbillies on PCP, who has Burrow to Boyd connection here in his first 2 spots. Burrow gets 41.25. Unfortunately, touchdowns went to the other 2 guys on the Bengals receivers there. Boyd only gets 6.5. Juju, only 9. Deebo Samuel, though, he goes off with a long touchdown, almost 200 yards receiving. He gets you just under 38 points this week, kind of making up a little bit there for your wide receivers. Kamara and Carson, 18, 13 respectively. Hawkinson goes off for 25.5 points there. It said in their furious comeback attempts, looks like the offense is going to flow through Hawkinson and their running backs this year. Said Swift and Williams both went for about 24, 25 points there this week. And I guess perhaps an ideal fantasy football situation, at least, if Detroit's going to get behind by 30 points every week and then attempt a furious comeback, much like the Cowboys last year. Every single game, Dak was going for 80 points, and all your guys, Cooper, Lamb, Gallup, Zeke, were all going crazy because they were just passing like nuts most of the game there. In the flex, Najee Harris, only 6 points. Robbie Gould, a surprising performance here. He gets a couple field goals. He actually gets you about 14 points, pretty good for a kicker. But again, your Green Bay Packers defense looks like they only got you 3 points. When you had the Steelers defense, I did not figure out exactly what their score would have been, but Yahoo does say 21, which already that's an extra 18 points from where you would have been without the extra stuff tacked on, which would be more than enough to swing this matchup the other way. But as Brian would say, you are feeding a fed horse by talking about, repeating it over and over, that he should have started the Steelers defense, and he did not. So we will stop feeding that fed horse. Yinzer Jags starts the season 1-0. He is in 4th place. Hillbillies on PCP start the season 0-1. They are in 8th place. Next up, Biscuits and Porn versus the Shawshank Athletics. This one ended up not being very close. I don't know if much was this in question there going into Monday night. I don't think so. Shawshank had Mark Andrews, but it would have taken about a 40-point performance from him to get it done in this one. But Biscuits pulls it off 180.95 to 153.4. For Biscuits, Tom Brady, 64. Your receivers, Claypool, Lamb, and AB. 10, 23.5, and 23.5 for Lamb and Brown, respectively. Your running backs, seemingly one of the, at least in terms of names, one of the biggest, probably perhaps arguably the best wide or running back combo in the league so far. Aaron Jones and Ezekiel Elliott, 4.2 and 5.9 for those two guys, respectively. You still won the game, but that's a little bit troublesome going forward. But it's hard to imagine those two guys being contained to single-digit scores very often here going forward the rest of the year. Tight end, Johnny Smith, now in New England, gets you just under 10 points. In the flex, Devontae Smith, new Eagles, wide receiver there, going with your heart, perhaps instead of your head in that pick, but ends up working out good. 19 points for him. Mason Crosby, your kicker, 1 30-yard field goal, so 3 point something. And then the New England Patriots defense, they did lose, but they still got you about 16 or so points, probably 17, I'm going to guess there. But yeah, that gets you one up to 180, enough to get past Shawshank Athletics this week. He has Herbert go for 50. Cooper Kupp goes for just under 24. Justin Jefferson, kind of a quiet game for him, 13.5. Started Ayuk this week, and he did not do anything. He got you 0. Well, you said you lost still by 20. You needed probably about 27.5 points, 28 points to win here. That 0 definitely hurts. Dalvin gets you 20.5. Edwards-Helaire, 10.2. Mark Andrews, again, only 5. Mike Davis in the flex, 10.2. Zerline, your kicker from Dallas, gets you about 9 or so. And then the Chiefs defense, couple turnovers, couple sacks there. Yahoo says 8. It looks like, I don't think you had any long touchdowns. No. You got bumped up about 4, so I'm going to, or 5, or maybe, no. Based on your kicker, I'm going to say maybe 3. So their score was probably 11 for the Chiefs defense. Let's see if there's anything Josh could have done differently that could have swung the result of this one the other way. I really don't think so. Probably thought Ayuk was healthy and good to go in a game that should have been a blowout. At least it was most of the way through there. But yeah, these 49ers are being extremely strange with their game approach so far this year. As of course, it's only been 1 week, but you probably thought Ayuk was fine, but they pretty much used him as a decoy, and it was all Debo this week. Even Kittle wasn't used very much. It was the running game with Mitchell there, and it was Debo. So, what can you do? And again, said that they made it strange with their running backs, benching Sermon for the week. Mostert gets hurt. They play those other guys. Mitchell has a good game. So Debo goes off in replace since Ayuk does. I guess he was a decoy or whatever they did with him, taking it easy. There, so. But even if you had started another wide receiver, Landry or Chase, looks like your other two options. So I don't really see anything else that you could have done that would have been obviously different in any other way except hindsight to change your roster there. Either Landry or Chase instead of Ayuk this week still would have not supplied enough points to get a victory there. So that's just the way it goes there, Josh. Every week, you never know what could happen. We win, we lose, sometimes by the smallest of margins, sometimes by choices we make that end up being wrong. Sometimes we win, sometimes we lose, and that's just the way it goes. But again, it's only one game. Of course, everyone would like to get a win. Biscuits gets it. He is 1-0. He is in 5th place. Shawshank Athletics, they are 0-1. They are down there in 10th place. So, all right, final matchup of this week. We have Possum Magic going up against Saquon It Ain't So. And this one, speaking of the highs that the Dubsy Hooligans probably felt after the Thursday night game, probably the opposite, the yin to the yang, where of lows that Saquon It Ain't So probably felt, seeing that he had Dak on his bench, did not trust him, used him as a keeper, but did not trust him going into the season, and ended up, said you had a couple days to stew on that, and then Aaron Rodgers went out and just poured salt into your wound, so to speak. Anyway, what happened here? Possum Magic gets the win. He is the other team, over 200 this week, 204.8 to 162.45 for Saquon It Ain't So. Let's see, for Possum Magic, let's take a look. Russell Wilson, he had a long touchdown, I believe. Only 18 completions there, 250 yards, but he goes for about 50.5 points. Your receivers, McLaurin, Diggs, and Thielen. Kind of quiet games, though, for McLaurin and Diggs, 10 and 16, respectively. But Thielen carries the load for you there, picks up the slack, gets 2 touchdowns, scores you 30 points. Chubb, 22, Mixon, 28, Higbee, 12, Myers in the flex, 10.5. Kicker, suck up from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers there. Excuse me. Looks like he got you about 7.5. And then the San Francisco defense started off pretty strong, held on to get the victory there, gave up a ton of points and a ton of yards, but they did score a touchdown, got a couple sacks there. Yahoo says 12, but I think we bumped you up about 6 or maybe 9, maybe? No, because you had a long touchdown there, so I'm going to say 6. Their score was probably 18, would be my best guess there. But taking a look at it here, with Saquon It Ain't So's 162.45, which means if we add 42, that would be enough, 42.5, yeah, you would need it exactly 42.5 points to get it to have gotten a victory in this matchup. And as we again said, Aaron Rodgers, sorry Jay, salting your wound here. Aaron Rodgers only goes for 15.65, while Dak on your bench, I don't think there were any long touchdowns, 77.45. A difference of, 62? Almost 62? As crazy as that is to say, the difference in your quarterbacks this week, you needed, 42 and a half, and Dak would have easily covered that and given Possum a very difficult defeat this week. Anytime you scored over 200 and lose, that always stings for quite a while, but fortunately it did not happen for Possum Magic. His receivers said he had Lockett to counteract Russell Wilson there. Actually ended up being a pretty good move for you. Lockett only 4 catches, but 2 of them were touchdowns. He gets you, I believe, one of his touchdowns was a long touchdown. He gets you 29. Chenault gets you 13. Corey Davis, 2 more touchdowns for your receivers there. He gets you 20, just about 27. Running backs, Derrick Henry only gets you 10.5. Henderson from the Rams scored a touchdown, gets you 15.5. Pitts, your tight end, only goes for 7. Kirk in the flex, another pair of touchdowns for this guy, 24. Must have been the theme here for you. Rodgers throws 2 interceptions. Lockett, Davis, and Kirk all catch 2 touchdowns. Excuse me. Kicker Tucker goes for about 12 points. And then the Baltimore Ravens defense, they got you, Yahoo says 6. I'm going to say it was 9, perhaps. Maybe 12. Well, we bumped you up for a long touchdown. Looks like maybe it was about, probably going to guess 12 points there. No, probably 9. Yeah, that sounds right. Anyway, Saquon, so did have a kind of slim chance there if the Baltimore Ravens defense had completely destroyed the Raiders last night and Tucker kicked a couple field goals. Even more points there for him. But that did not happen. Again, 42-point difference there. Not too much I want to say that Saquon could have done, but there's one big thing that he could have done. Much like his fellow, I don't know, do you guys have something? I know he's not a cougar, obviously, but is he something there? I don't know if there's a term for your little friendship there. Jay and Brian, each person made a mistake this week that I'm going to guess they will not be making again the rest of the season, barring any unforeseen circumstances there. So, let's see. Yeah, that's it. Possum Magic, he is in second place, 1-0, while Saquon and Ain't So, 0-1. They start off in 9th place. All right, so again, as I said a little bit before, we have an extra game this year, which means we have a 14-game regular season, which means you can actually finish 500 this year. That's 7-7. So I'm going to guess the magic number in terms of the playoff race is going to be now 8 instead of 7. Although I highly suspect that every year there will be at least one team, if not more, that makes their way into the playoffs with a 7-7 record. But I would guess now that it seems most likely or logical that 8 is the magic number you're shooting for, which means you have a winning record, and said you won't, and that would pretty much guarantee you a playoff spot here. So magic number now 8 instead of 7. Taupe's first one's out of the knockout pool. That's pretty much it for week 1. This was actually, a lot of seasons, week 1 is when the offenses go crazy. I don't know if it was just the difference in the preseason structure this year. A lot of starters really just not getting no playing time in any games, just practice. which never really prepares you for games. So I don't know if it's something with said the conditioning, the training of the players this year, whatever it is. Obviously, Chiefs went off, a couple guys there. There were a handful of big scores, but in general, I said we had a 135, 140, 156, 170s, a 153, 162. Those are middling scores. Two teams went over 200, obviously, but no other teams really sniffed 200 there. Couple teams in the 180s, but yeah. In general, this was actually kind of a lower overall scoring week one. Usually it takes the defenses a little bit of time to catch up to the offense. Maybe things, instead of starting high and going down a little bit, maybe they're going to start low and go up a little bit. So we'll see how things play out. Week two, obviously that is for the podcasters to discuss a little bit more. We got Topes versus Possum, CMC versus Saquon, Disco versus Dub C. Oh, an interesting matchup. Those guys get to play each other twice this year, too. Ed Logger versus Hillbillies, Gags versus Biscuits, Shawshank versus Yinzers. Just taking a look here. We only have one matchup that features two teams that are 0-1. That is Ed Logger versus Hillbillies. So one of those teams will be guaranteed to start off 0-2, while the other matchups, we only have one matchup, Gags versus Biscuits. Both of those teams are 1-0. That is the only 1-0 versus 1-0. So one of you guaranteed to get win number 2 this week. So some big projections. Possum projected to score almost 200 points. Biscuits projected over 190. A couple other teams, 188, 187, 185. So yeah, some big projections this week. Those will probably come down a little bit as the week goes forward. But yeah, pretty much it for week one here in the books. Here, wrap this up. It's getting kind of late. We'll see what happens here with the first week of free agency. See who throws some fab out there. Got a feeling it's already been discussed on the line app that who is going to throw a whole bunch of money at Elijah Mitchell. I did not know until I sat down to do this that not Sermon Mostert was actually now out for the entire year. So going to be interesting to see how much the winner for Elijah Mitchell pays this here coming up. Only a couple hours, and we will know for sure when you guys wake up in the morning there. All right, that'll be interesting to see. There's a handful of other interesting players on waivers there, so I'm pretty much none of you will be seeing or listening to this before the waiver period and free agency opens up there, and you get to see who did what there. So. All right, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching or listening or whatever it is you do. We will see you back here again after week 2. All right, guys. Bye-bye.